Um, Hello, everyone. Welcome to Unlearning. Back in 2017, the Philippines has been ranked one of the most gay friendly nations in the world and is the most gay friendly in Asia. With the help of the internet, people are becoming more confident to be their true selves. This, however, doesn't mean that everyone has the exact same positive experience when coming out to their friends and family. This is why we invited Krishna. She's a friend of the podcast and would be the best person to share her personal insights on her experience as part of the LGBTQ community in the Philippines. Hello, Krishna. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Hi, nice, nice to be here. I'm actually really honored. It's a great opportunity. So thank you.
Yeah, we really want to make this podcast to be a platform to share insights from people like you and other experts in the community. We would love to get to know you a little bit more. So I guess I want to start with what was your family like and how were you raised as a kid?
My family is a very Asian, traditional, religious family. It's the
Mhm.
typical wake up at 6 a.m. to go to a 7 o'clock church prayer sort of type of thing. Even practices the religious holidays. We do the Holy Week thing. I know for some people they go on vacations, but for
Yeah.
us we have to go to Monday Thursday church, and then you have to do the procession.
And you have to be sad.
Yeah, exactly. And then in the following day, you do the seven visitation, or visita iglesia. You have to do that, and then
Mhm.
then you got the Black Saturday, and then you also do the church. So a very religious, typical Asian traditional family. Grew up now the way I was raised. Again, very typical where, you got to put your grades first. If you get palakol, or if your grades are like 79 and below, oh, you're gonna get some ass whooping for sure. So it was hard, you gotta act a certain way,
Mhm.
and it's tough for me since I'm very boyish. From the get go. Um, my mom would try to make me walk on a certain way.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, I remember her putting back in the days where there's no Wikipedia yet, and then you have these thick encyclopedias that you
Yeah,
have to put
yeah.
on top of your head, and then you would walk on a line.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so
That's some training. Wow.
yeah. So that kind of sort of family. So yeah, yeah.
And I guess with that kind of conservative, strict, and I would say generally typical kind of Asian family, how did that relate when you came out as a lesbian or as someone your family didn't expect?
Oh my gosh. Like, I mean, like, how did they react to me coming out, coming from a conservative family?
Yeah, and I guess what was your overall story? When did it
Oh,
happen? How did it happen?
oh my gosh. When I came out, I didn't come out like a full blown, like, okay, guys, we're gonna have a family meeting. Sit down. I'm gonna tell you something. No, I had to do it at increments, and
Mm-hmm.
it was such a long preparation. So I'm scared of my dad
Okay.
because he's very religious.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they were really concerned of what people would think, and it's so hard for me to even plan on, okay, where am I gonna start, until there's this the way I came out was when I had to know first who I am, right?
Yeah.
Because ever since I was a kid, back in when I was probably 4 or 5 years old, I already had a girl crush.
Okay.
And I'm like, that's not normal, because see all these kids partnering up with boy kids, and here I am, like, I really like that girl kid. Like, what am I gonna do? And then after that, move fast forward. That Rustam Padilla story that actually
Yeah.
helped me a lot.
Oh wow.
That
Okay.
really helped me a lot. Yeah, I was watching PBB, and And when he came out to Keanu Reeves, I was actually bawling. I was crying because
Mm-hmm.
there was a lot of repressed memories back when I was a kid. Because I just focused on sports. And
Okay.
when I saw that him coming out during that time, or she coming out, um, it kind of reminded me of all these things that I had to go through when I was young. And then so with that, that's when I started say soul searching, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So like I said, we were talking earlier, back in those days when I was in my teen years, IRC was the thing, right? I was chatting. I pretended to be a guy.
Ah, okay.
So when I pretended to be a guy, I met this person, and then it was like, oh, okay, I really like how we were talking, and then but what was this feeling? Well, what am I feeling? Um, Long story short, obviously that didn't end well because I was lying to myself. And then so a year later, I finally told a college friend of mine, and she's also a lesbian, because I didn't know any lesbian person at that time.
Mm-hmm. Oh
So
wow.
it was
Okay.
just yeah, just college, because us in the Philippines, or at least for me, growing up in Las Piñas, in our city, it was just a small city, small town, and so for you, you thought that that was just your world, and then you
Mm-hmm.
go to college in Benil, in LaSalle, and then you see like, oh wow, there's actually more people. There's actually people that in
Yeah.
this race, and so and then she became a good friend of mine, and then she was the one who told me like, if you don't tell this person, it's been 1 year. If you don't tell this person who you are, how are you gonna accept yourself? You gotta accept yourself first.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the first time I actually came out to someone.
Okay.
And then after me coming to terms to that sort of like huge secret of me pretending to be a guy, there was a huge weight that got lifted on my shoulders. And then that's when I started coming out to another friend, which is a close friend of my sister's.
Mm-hmm.
She's actually a neighbor. And then I told her about myself. And then she told me, I think you got to start telling your family, at least one, choose one. And I think it should
Mm-hmm.
be your sister, my older sister. And she said, I feel like she's going to be more understanding
Mm-hmm.
because they already knew. I mean, just by
Yeah.
how you walk, they
You
already
feel
know.
it. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just more of like a formal thing coming from your mouth.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, I'm scared because I'm scared of being disowned. You know. And then after that, that's when I started talking to my sister, and the way our rooms were set up was, I sleep with my sister. We have one room, and then my
Mm-hmm.
two brothers, they have their own room. And my parents did that so that we can form a bond. They said so that we
Yeah.
can grow up close. And then so one time before we go to sleep, that was when I told my sister, like, hey, are you gonna sleep now? And just like, what? Yeah. I'm like, I gotta tell you something. And then all of a sudden her sleepy voice became like, is this about you? And then
Oh
when she
wow.
did that, I guess she kind of sort of knew. And then I started crying, and I'm like, yeah, I told her, I just want to let you know that I'm gay. And then do you still, you still accept me? Do you still love me? And then she started hugging me. Yes, of course. So that was like fine. And then I think a week later, that's when I started talking to my mom. And then
Okay.
and then from my mom told my dad.
And how did your mom take it?
Uh well, we did it while I was driving. We were gonna go to Alabang Town Center.
That's very risky.
Right? We were driving, so we were like, what? My daughter, no. Yeah, but yeah, because we just came from church, and there was this sermon. So I totally forgot about this sermon, but it was something about past experiences and coming to terms with it, I think.
Okay.
And then while driving, my mom's like, oh, I'm just glad that you guys turned out okay, and you
Mm-hmm.
guys, are doing your own thing now, and I don't think you guys ever experienced any abuse from us, right? And you guys turned out to be blah blah blah.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had to say something like, no, well, not really, mom. Because I think I had a different experience compared to my siblings. because
Uh-huh.
I'm obviously different. So I had to tell her, and she's like, "What are you talking about?" And then I, for some reason, there's this like voice telling me like, "Go ahead, just say it."
Say
It's
it, yeah.
yeah, just say it. And then I told her like, "Well, I want to let you know that I'm gay." And then she became quiet, and then she said, "What do you mean?" And then I told her like, "I'm gay. I'm a lesbian. I'm into
Mm-hmm.
girls." And then she goes, "Is there something that we did?" I think that's a typical question
Mm-hmm.
as a parent. Like, is it because of how I was raised, or is it because of
Mm-hmm.
something that they've done or something like that? And I told her like, no, it was never because of you. From the moment that I knew when I was 4 years old that my heart started beating, for this girl, that I knew there's something different about me.
Yeah, yeah.
And so at that time, she was actually okay. There's no huge, like, oh my God, or like, no, or something like
There was
no,
no shock. Yeah,
no
yeah.
shock at all. And then as soon as I parked the car and she hugged me, and then it's as if like we never talked about it. And just like, you know what? Okay. I mean, if that's you, um, okay, I still love you. And then after that, she hugged me. She's like, okay, so what are we gonna buy for your dad? Yeah, so I don't know. I honestly don't know what was going
Okay.
through her head. I really don't know, but I was shocked that, oh, okay, that
It
was just,
went fine.
yeah. And then a week later,
Mm-hmm.
that's when she told my dad, because I was sleeping on a weekend, and then she
Mm-hmm.
started waking me up. Are you awake? Are you awake? Are you awake? I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, I'm awake now. What's up? And then she goes, well, I told your dad. I'm like, oh my God, am I getting kicked out? And then she said, no, silly. I told your dad, and then your dad just said, well, who are we to disown her when she came from us?
Mm-hmm.
And then that's when I cried. And then when she said that, I'm like, oh, okay. But I never had any conversation with my dad. It's like my
Oh,
mom told my dad, and then that was it. And then we're just like gonna sweep it off the rug and then pretend like it didn't happen. Yeah.
until right now?
Well, no, that obviously they already knows I got married, right? But
Yeah,
there's
yeah, yeah.
this, there's this situation with my I should say with my dad probably, where I they say that they said that they've accepted me and all that stuff, but there are certain little things where sometimes I question it, like, have they really accepted me?
Mm-hmm.
Um, say for example, like I think this happened like a few days ago, not days ago, like a month ago,
Mm-hmm.
where on Facebook, I see my mom posting, but she never really addressed my wife as their daughter,
Oh, okay.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Because someone from a relative asked who my wife is, like who is she? She's so pretty. Who is she?
Yeah.
And then my mom just said, oh, her name is Bernadette.
Ah, she didn't say like she's the wife of, yeah, okay.
Exactly. Yeah. So that kind of recognition, and that really kind of broke my heart, and I had to like address it to my mom. Hey, what was that all about? And I told him like it's kind of sad that her family is very accepting of me.
Mm-hmm.
How my family isn't. And then yeah, and speaking about it right now, it's still there's still it still hurts a little, but
Uh-huh.
I know my mom she's really trying her best to learn things.
Mm-hmm.
um But my dad, though, I honestly don't know what he's thinking, because we never really had
So
that
crazy.
full on conversation. Yeah.
Okay. And how do you address that though? Like, I mean, with your mom, maybe at least she's a little bit more open and she's trying, in general. But what if you see your dad's right now, and or at least when you go home to visit, Christmas, whatever? So you just, how do you feel that you just cannot talk about it?
You know what's funny? When we're all together, he's actually very proud. He would call my wife like, "Hey, my daughter. um,
Okay.
how was your flight or something like that, but on the outside though, however he is with his friends or with the religious community, I don't know.
Okay.
It's something that probably I don't even care anymore. Before I used to care what they think about me or us. But but to be honest with you, so long as they're also respectful of how I live my life and how they are to my wife, I'm okay with it. Like I don't even
Yeah.
care. Like before, I used to fight with them about it, but now like you know what? As long as you treat us good, you treat us right, and I'm okay with it. But of course, there are things where sometimes you see other people so they're so proud of their um daughter-in-law or your son-in-law or who
Yeah.
yeah, so sometimes you want that recognition too, like it's as if like you feel like you really belong in a certain family. And but
Yeah.
yeah, I guess I don't know if I'm trying to be a bigger person, but mm, that's the way it is, right?
And do you imagine yourself like confronting your dad about it or your mom about it?
I did confront my mom about it, and she was
Uh-huh.
actually very apologetic, very very apologetic. Because I told her,
Okay.
you're not the only one who can see whatever you say, right? Um, her mom sees it, her dad sees it, and I don't want them to think that you guys are not accepting of my wife
Yeah.
because they've treated me so nice. I used to when I was in college, I would always see my college guy friends, and I would get jealous of how they can just stroll with their girlfriend and then have lunch and dinner with their families. Like I want that, I want
Yeah.
to have that. And then I felt that coming here, and not just my wife's immediate family, even her distant relatives, her second cousins are so nice to me, you know.
Oh.
Yeah, and then I can't even see that from them with really acknowledging like, hey, this is Chris's wife, she's this and she's that, so I've told that to my mom, and then she was very apologetic. And she said, "I didn't mean it. I'm so sorry. That's not how I meant it. I'm
Okay.
gonna change it." And then which she actually did. Before she would used to just post all of my long haired pictures, and then now she's finally posting my shortcut hair pictures, which is funny. But with my dad though, I honestly don't know.
Okay. So it's a
I
work in progress with your dad.
it's definitely a work in progress because every time I'm with him, the kid in me comes out. And
Mm-hmm.
then there's this fear.
Fear. Exactly.
There's this fear of it's not really the rejection, but it's more of like I'm scared of what he's gonna say.
Yeah.
Yeah, so definitely a work in progress. I don't know if I hope there's no gonna be any regret on my part. I honestly don't know, but I hope so. I hope I get to that point where I get to talk to my dad about it.
Yeah. Okay. That's yeah, that's very sad. I'm so sorry to hear that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I wish I'm telling a very like a redemption story, like, yeah, my dad and I would watch this now, or
No, no, this is real. And
yeah.
you're I don't think that it's always a happy story with a lot of people, right? Other people are not even come out yet. Hasn't even come out yet. Like I have friends who I have lesbian friends as well who haven't come out yet. And it's so sad because they exactly have the same feeling that they will be disowned.
Right.
Where are my grandchildren? Like
Right. Oh my God. Yes. I know that's why every time I see, a coming out story that's full on display on social media, and then
yeah,
just crying and then hugging, and I'm like, wow, they are really lucky because it feels like I don't know. I guess just by seeing, because I don't know what's going on with the others, but with what I've gone through, like I'm still going through it. I still
yeah.
have some relatives who are very conservative that I actually had a spat with at one point, and
Hmm.
so like yeah, so it's still a struggle. Yeah, definitely
Yeah.
still a struggle.
And how about other parts of your life, like with work, with friends? I mean, you mentioned a while ago that a friend was the first person you said it to. Um, so that's super nice. But I mean, how about your other friends? Did they take it well too, or
Oh gosh, yes. Definitely. Oh my gosh. I don't think I remember my mom would always question like, why am I always out? I never stay at home. It's
Mhm,
obviously, I feel like I don't belong here. And then so
mhm,
so my friends were like my family.
mhm, yeah.
And then so when I came out to a friend of mine, his name is Marla. Marla, what's up? Yeah. So when it came out to him, and then he was the first one who gave me these great advices of being who you are and stuff. Um, it was just very very supportive. He would sometimes check on me. And then after that, I think I had a dinner with my friends at home, and that's when like I just gathered everyone, and then I told them about it. And these were my college friends, and then they were just like, we already knew. We were just waiting for you to say something, and it's okay.
Yeah,
So it
yeah.
was just like nothing. But one thing that struck me the most was this high school friend of mine when I also told them. Um, and when I told her that, I'm gay, I'm
Mhm.
lesbian, I'm actually at that time I was dating someone, I'm dating this person, and blah, blah. And they're like, wow, I'm so happy for you. And then she goes, there's something different about you. I'm like, really? Yeah, because you're more open now. Like, because before you had this huge wall, you're just like, pull out jokes and stuff, but we never really got to know you. But now, like, we see the walls coming down. So
Yeah.
we feel the light in you. And I'm like, oh, okay. Which I actually definitely felt. So coming out to my friends was never hard.
Hard. Yeah.
Yeah, they were the most accepting, and I'm very, 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 very
Yeah.
lucky. Yeah.
And that work? Like, were you, most especially when you, I don't know, interview to a new job, like did
Oh, with
you
work.
hide or
With work, I never really hid myself with work.
okay.
But of course, there was no like full on display of like, hey, I am this, and I'm gonna be acting this way. No. So I just
Okay.
came out, tried to interview, just tried to be myself.
Yeah.
Especially when I was in Speedo. I think when I was working in Speedo at that time, I think that was the most self-aware I was, as opposed to
Mhm.
my previous jobs, because before with my previous jobs, there was a sort of like a way you dress,
Yeah.
and then I had to conform to that, so it was really awkward.
Yeah.
But with Speedo though, since the culture there was very relaxed, I can
Mhm.
just whatever I want, very casual. My boss was actually pretty cool, pretty cool. He's like a friend, she's like a friend. And then so yeah, I think that was very just casual. I
Yeah.
never really had a hard time. If the only thing that I had a hard time really is just the dressing up part at
Yeah.
work.
Yeah. Yeah. Could imagine. Yeah.
Yeah.
and and if you could go back in time and give yourself some advice before you came out and actually right now, what would you say?
Oh my gosh, I'd probably tell my younger self to don't be afraid. There are gonna be people who are supportive of you. You just gonna need to find your tribe and
Mhm.
never let them go. That's definitely one, because that's the only thing that held me back was fear.
Yeah.
Um, Fear of getting bullied, um, fear of getting disowned, not being accepted.
Yeah.
So the one thing is, courage, be strong. It's gonna
Mhm.
be okay. Don't be afraid.
That's true. I agree. I mean, what's the worst that could happen, right? It's not like we're gonna go hungry and live on the streets. Like, that's always what I think about lang. Like, I will not go hungry. I'm sure of that. So, and I will still live. So it's fine.
True, true. That is true. And it was a work in progress for me. Not caring about what people think. Um, it was really hard. That's why I had a hard time coming out, because I would always generally think like, I don't want to hurt, I don't want to hurt my family, so
Mm-hmm.
I'm just gonna keep on sucking it in, and or like, I don't want them to feel uncomfortable because
Uh-huh.
of how I act. But after that, that's when you're right. Like, you know what? I'm working. I can feed myself, so
Yeah.
I don't need no recognition from anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I must say though, coming out to my family also definitely helped, because I'm like, whatever you say doesn't matter anymore, so long as my
Yeah.
family loves me. I don't give a shit. I'm gonna give a rat's ass what they're saying. What you're saying, like, not really. My family loves me. I know they love me. They might not be saying it right now, but I know they love me.
Deep, 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 deep inside,
Deep, deep,
they
deep,
love
deep,
you.
deep, deep, very deep down inside.
Yeah, they love us. It's fine. Yeah, and that's what
Yes,
matters, right? So
doesn't
that's
matter.
okay.
Exactly, it doesn't matter. And it's hard to pretend. It's so hard. I remember when I came out to my mom, one of the things that she also told me was, I'm glad you were able to figure out who you are as early as now, because I can
Yeah.
just imagine trying to find your identity, and you're wasting your whole life not knowing who you are. And she's right.
Yeah.
So it may not be as early as, some people, but for me, I'm just glad that I was able to do it the right time and be able
Yeah.
to figure it out along the way.
So when was that exact moment when you truly felt comfortable, like 100% comfortable with who you are? Like, fuck what everybody says. This is who I am. Was there a moment where you just it all sunk in? You just felt it.
Oh, yeah, 2014 when I got married and moved here.
Amen. Yes,
Yeah,
that is
yeah,
true.
yeah. I mean, just the fact that I got married was huge. I was well received. Again, I was well received by
Uh,
my family, by my wife's family, and then being able to express myself through clothing, through style. That's when I realized, like, you know what? Okay, okay, my life is good. My life is
yeah.
definitely, yeah. It kind of sucked that I had to remove myself, or get away from my home country and
Yeah.
move here in order for me to feel that way, which is definitely sad.
Yeah.
Um, but at the same time, learning another culture with very diverse country
Yeah.
also helped me personally, and opened my minds to other things, and learning other stuff that I thought that, like, again, growing up in a third world country, like, oh wow, Hollywood, ooh, glitz and glamour. And then I move
Mhm.
here, like, oh really, this is LA, that's it, that's LA. Like, I thought there's nothing glamorous about LA. And then, so yeah, definitely moving here opened a lot of things, in terms
Yeah.
of learning new things for me, but at the same time being able to express myself fully without apologizing to anyone.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
on the other side of things, is there something about yourself that you haven't fully embraced yet?
I think the pronoun for sure caught me off
Mm.
guard right there. It always catches me off guard.
Yeah.
Sometimes I would talk to my wife and tell her, like, should I go to LGBT therapy for it? Like, I don't know how to address it. I really don't.
Mm.
Um, if there's anyone out there listening who can help me out how to address that, I'd really appreciate it.
Yeah.
But I remember talking to a friend of mine. Um, he recently transitioned.
Okay.
And it's funny because before he would go to me for advice. When and that was at my first job here in America, and
Mm-hmm.
then he was so, I guess, surprised with how expressive I was and my style, and then he would come to me for advice. And then now that he's transitioned, and And then now I find myself coming to him for advice, like, so how's your transition, like, how's your journey, um so what's your pronoun, like, so how do I address that? And then I love what he said, like, just whatever's comfortable for you.
Yeah,
You'll feel it in your heart. You don't have to conform to whatever people say, even within the gender spectrum, because sometimes it does get very confusing.
it is. I'm very
Yeah, it
confused.
is. It's very confusing, um and then so I'm like, okay, although it's kind of easy to say, but a little tougher to live by
Address. Yeah,
or
yeah.
address. Yeah, yeah. So it's a work in progress for
For
sure.
sure. And I mean,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it's really a journey, right? You really try to learn yourself every day.
Oh,
Um, because I spoke to, I'm not sure if you know her, Emilian. She's a very proud transgender in the Philippines, and we actually also interviewed her for this series. And she said she came out as a gay man, so she's still a he, and then she realized that there was still something missing. She didn't completely felt like herself.
right, right. And I remember meeting gosh, yeah. I remember meeting another a friend of mine, and she's actually an activist there. Um, because we were talking about transparent, and she would always school me about things. And like, for example, she would, I would say gentleman, like, why gentleman? Why can't it be a gentlewoman? So she would always call me out and school me.
Yeah.
And then she asked me about the question, like, did you ever consider transitioning? Um,
Okay.
and then I told her that I'm actually okay with my body. Uh, I'm very comfortable with it.
Yeah.
I'm okay with it. And then she goes, to be a trans man, you don't have to go under the knife specifically. And
Okay.
then and then when she said that, like, so I can be a trans man even without going, under the knife. And then she said,
Uh-huh.
yeah, it really depends on how you identify yourself.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's the whole point. That's the whole difference between gender and sex. Gender is, again, your how you identify yourself,
Mm-hmm.
where you're comfortable with. And then when she said that, like, that really got me thinking, and that's when I started questioning myself, like, am I a he or am I a she?
Yeah.
Am I a trans man, or I'm just lesbian?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yes, yeah. So those are the things that I'm still trying to figure out for myself, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a journey. It's a journey.
Is it? Yeah. Yes.
And do you still worry about, in general, like how people perceive you based on your sexuality? Because I'm sure it's not always rainbows and butterflies. I'm sure there's still some people who's like, yeah, I don't get you, right? How do you still worry about that? How do you feel about that? And how do you address that actually?
Um, the only time I would feel uncomfortable, um, or at least having a hard time addressing it,
Uh-huh.
is every time I go to a restroom.
Oh, okay. That's
Because
interesting.
yeah, because as I said earlier, I really don't care what people think anymore. But the only time I feel vulnerable is when I go to a restroom. And
Okay.
sometimes I would even ask my wife to go with me just so I don't confuse women.
Oh gosh.
Because obviously, right, with how I look, I know there's still female features on my face. I still have my breasts in here. It's fully intact. But of course, during winter, and
Yeah.
with layers and layers of clothes because it's cold, it's kind of hard, especially if you see me from behind and you
Yeah.
see my full shaven head.
Yeah.
And then so, it's like I feel like I always have to walk in caution going inside a women's restroom,
Okay.
because I would always get these looks. It's as if, like, oh, I think this person is lost. Like, the male restroom is right there. The only time that I really like how Seattle did it. There's this one restroom by the Starbucks reserve,
Mm-hmm.
where there's just one restroom, and it's like a shared restroom between male and female, and I really like that. But the one thing I didn't like is I kind of see the people who don't wash their hands, which was funny. And I told Bernadette, like, "Hey, guess what? I see people who are not washing hands." And it's just like, come
Oh
on.
Jesus,
Yeah,
that's disgusting.
yeah, but anyways, sorry about that.
Fun
Uh,
fact.
yeah, fun fact. Yeah, fun fact. But yeah, going to the restroom and the way I would address it is just like sometimes I just use it as a joke, like, "Oh, don't worry, I'm with you, girls," and then I would just like,
I still have
yeah,
my boobs. It's
yeah,
fine.
yeah. I know where I'm going. I'm not lost.
Yeah, yeah,
But then sometimes I don't want to deal with it, and then so I would tell Bernadette, like, "Can you go with me, just so I
yeah.
know
Just to
something."
be safe. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, exactly. So that's the only time really is this the restroom.
yeah.
So I love how there's certain laws that are being passed now in terms of protection against
Hmm.
transgenders,
Yeah.
LGBT, especially with restrooms because it is real. Bullying, abuses, especially with the restroom, those are real.
Yeah.
I know it's not as bad as what others have experienced, but at the same time, just getting those looks, it really does make you uncomfortable.
Yeah, it hurts still. Yes, I could
Oh yeah,
imagine. Yeah.
for,
Yeah.
for sure, yeah.
Yeah. With our conversation, I feel like your marriage was such an important part of your journey to discovering yourself and of course like figuring things out. Why I know marriage is important in general, but why did you feel that getting married was important for you to be yourself?
Oh, definitely it is important because it opens up to being recognized, just the same-sex union alone.
Uh-huh.
Because if if same-sex marriage is being legalized, it opens doors for um having the access to government benefits. That
Mhm.
one's really huge. And it doesn't stop there. It also goes down to once you have kids.
Yeah. Mhm.
So they're also protected. Same sex that have kids also gets protected. So it's not just about oh, we just love each other and all that stuff. It goes way beyond that.
Yeah.
And that's why it is very important. And it is some people are just like, oh, why do you guys don't get married? It's just a paper. It's not just a paper. It's really beyond that. It's for our
You
protection
want
too.
equal rights. Yeah. Same
Exactly.
rights as normal couples. Yeah.
Exactly. When we got married, and then Bernadette told me that, oh, I already got you on my insurance. You don't have to worry about that. Or
Yeah.
your health card is gonna be this card. So if you get yourself checked, just show them this health card. I'm like, wow, really? There's a thing like that here? How come there's nothing there in the Philippines? You know?
Yes.
Yeah, so things like that, because that really is important, the by the eyes of and by law, they recognize you that
Yeah.
you guys are in a partnered relationship, and this is not something where um like a boyfriend girlfriend sort of thing.
Yeah.
No, like this is really a full-on union, and
Exactly.
and
Yeah.
we should also have the same rights as what the heterosexuals have. That's why it's
Agree.
really important for me. Yeah.
Yeah. And so in your entire experience, even in the States or in the Philippines, like which recent personal life experience has taught you the biggest lesson?
Oh, oh, oh wow. Oof.
Yeah,
Philippines or here? Like,
with just recent personal life experience, what has taught you the biggest lesson?
oh my gosh. Hard work definitely, and
Mm-hmm.
at the same time humbleness.
Uh-huh.
Moving here really humbled me so much
Okay.
because I realized that, oh wow, the world really doesn't revolve around me. There were so many things that I had to unlearn. Oops. There's so many things that I had to unlearn.
Uh-huh.
Like our culture, where we really came from, all these textbooks that we've studied when we were young.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
yeah, and then and then having found out like, hey, we also didn't come from allies. We were also these islanders at the same time. So that's definitely one thing that I had to like learn and relearn. Being humbled to the fact that just by starting from nothing, and
Yeah.
then being able to fulfill my dreams here. So many things I can't even pinpoint, but that's probably that's at the top of my head. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's okay. No pressure.
Yeah.
Um, and if you had to rate between 1 to 10, 10 being the most accepting, how accepting Filipinos are of the LGBTQ plus community, what would your rating be?
Oh my gosh, I don't know, Bobby. I'd say
Be honest. Don't be scared. Say it. Put it
well,
out
like
there.
we're not that bad. What are you saying? We're not really
We
that
are
bad.
bad. No. No, no, no. We're not. We're not. Sorry.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I'd range it between either 6 or 5, maybe.
Okay. Let's put it at 5.
Yeah, because the only I was never really bullied by outside of the confines of my family.
Hmm.
Um, it was always swept under the rug, at least for a
Yeah.
lesbian like me. I can't say the same for gay people. I can't say the same, especially for transgender. But based on my experience, I never really had that sort of bullying by other people. The only, I should say, abuse
Hmm.
that I felt was within my family. Um, and then so in whole in general, that's why I said 5. It's because of other people, was like, oh yeah, lesbian, tomboy, whatever.
Hmm.
But at the same time, I know for a fact that there really is no protection. There's still discrimination.
Yeah.
You get discriminated by how you look, by how you dress, and of course your status too.
Uh-huh.
Because it's funny, because if you're a rich gay guy, right, or a rich lesbian, for sure, like, oh wow, I want to be like this person.
Successful. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Successful, right? But then, but if you're poor, and then you dress
Mm.
up, they're like, oh, that person looks like a clown, or that person looks stupid, or whatever. So
Yeah.
there's something different about that. There's something wrong about that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So definitely a lot of things that people still need to learn in
Can
terms of
still improve a lot.
improve a lot. Yes, there you go, improve a
and
lot.
and if you had to define, in your opinion at least, what steps do we have to take as a society to be more accepting of the community?
Oh, just uh, if there's one thing that I would say is, try to meet an LGBT person.
Hmm.
Be friends with them, because that's the only way for you to really learn about them, and understand their situation. You'll never know what they actually go through unless you
Uh-huh.
actually talk to them.
Yeah.
Uh, Reading something, an article, is one thing, but having to know someone, being friends with that person, is something else, because you're
Yeah.
you're able to empathize and sympathize. That would definitely help you understand more why they're fighting for this fight. That's for sure. And that's one thing that I've learned here too, moving here. Good example is immigration.
Yeah.
Yeah, so uh, I have a different experience coming here, but there are also other people who had a different experience where they had to fight for this immigration thing just so they can stay here, or even go different kinds of routes. It's the same thing with LGBT. In order for you to realize that, you really have to go out there and be uncomfortable to be comfortable, so then you
Yeah.
can better understand what other people are going through. I think that's the only time that people are going to be able to realize that, hey, there this thing is serious. and
Yeah.
they do need protection. We need protection, and we need your help.
Yeah. Amen. Yes. We're actually nearing the end. And as we end the entire podcast episode, we actually ask our speakers or guests three ending questions. Maybe in 2 to 3 sentences, you can answer them. You actually mentioned it a bit a while ago. So maybe just to re-emphasize it. First question is, what is something you used to believe in but haven't learned?
Oh wow. You know, I've been thinking about that lately. But
That's what the
definitely,
pandemic does to us. Yeah.
I know, right?
We just
Yeah,
rethink everything.
I know, I know. I think 2020 was the is the woke year.
Yeah.
It's definitely the woke year. Um, yeah, I think trying to unlearn one for sure is the Philippine history.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I've found myself searching for answers because I've noticed that um, Filipinos who was born and raised in the Philippines, we all know we're Asians. But here, Filipino Americans here, they call themselves as islanders.
Ah.
Yeah, and then it's one thing that I had to ask my friend who's a major in history here, and then I asked to ask him like, why is it, and then he had to explain to me that you got to remember on the textbook, these people were, who wrote this are white people, and they were trying
Yeah.
to repress us by showing that, oh, this is actually where you came from, we're going to erase some part of your history. So that's part that the thing that I'm trying to unlearn right now,
Mm-hmm.
trying to question myself. Yeah, that's for sure. And another thing definitely is growing up from a very conservative family where women have to dress this way, and
Yeah.
then all of a sudden all these um, abuses, the Me Too movement happened, when I had to realize and refocus, like, oh yeah, why was I thinking before that if you dress a certain way it's a woman's fault? Like, there is something wrong about that. so
Yeah.
so things like that that I have to unlearn. And I had to like go out of my way of researching and finding out other people's stories, like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, okay, I get it now. So things like that.
Okay. And if last question, if you had to make a law that you think would make the world a better place, what would
Oh,
it
that's
be?
hard.
I know, right? That's why we ask these questions. It's so
Wow,
fun.
that's hard. Uh, oh my gosh, I think equality.
Uh-huh.
Uh,
Yeah.
that's for sure. Definitely equality. I see all these news from other countries,
Yeah.
like, whether it's in Asia, like Indonesia, or somewhere in the other continent, about
Mm-hmm.
there's still this discrimination happening. I think if we can all treat ourselves as human beings and be equal to each other,
Yeah.
um, just spread kindness, really, then definitely world peace is gonna happen for sure.
I hope so. I
I
really
know.
hope so. But actually, that is the end of our podcast. I just want to say thank you again so much for being here with
So
us
much,
today.
Hi, thank you. Thank you
Thank
for
you
the
so much.
opportunity.
Of course, we really want to just spread as much awareness as we can. But
Hey,
yes,
cool.
it was so nice to meet you, and yeah, thank you so much again for being with us here today.
Thank you so much. And I really, really, really appreciate the opportunity. And I hope I was able to enlighten someone, at least, and with my story, able to help someone. So thank you.
For
Thank you so
sure. Thank you so much, and happy Sunday. Talk to
much.
you
Happy
soon.
Sunday. Bye.
Bye.